the last Monday of 2018, and it's such a pleasure that you found the time to join us this morning. My name is Catherine Mwangi. Welcome to Inspiration Monday. What a beautiful way to end the year. We want to take a walk down memory lane, some of the most powerful, most impactful shows that we've been able to bring your way this whole year. We start with Motivate. Our first guest, he's a man who called Kenyans peculiar. You already know who I'm talking about, Michael Joseph. Here's his story.
I'm going to take you back so that people understand when you say you have your own failures. You did not wake up one day and become Michael Joseph.
Well, I left school very early age because I started school quite early. I started school when I was 5.
That was in South Africa.
I was in South Africa. And so I left. In South Africa, when you left school, you generally left school, you were 18 years, just when you on your 18th birthday. And then in South Africa at that time, we had compulsory military conscription. So
like NYS here?
Yeah, so you had to go to the military for 9 months to 2 years, depending on which year you left school. But I left school when I was 16, so I was too young to go to military.
Okay.
And for lots of reasons which I don't really want to go into, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a vet. That was my a vet or a game ranger was what I wanted to be. So that's what I wanted to be. But at the time, I had no money or no guidance for other reasons. So a friend of mine was going to join what was then Post and Telecommunications as an apprentice. So I said, well, I'll do that too. So it wasn't my choice.
Yeah.
I wasn't a star student at high school for sure.
No.
I wasn't a star in any case. I was a big daydreamer actually. I spent most of my time flying around the world. Anyway, so that's how I got into. I started as an apprentice, and in that time apprenticeship, you had to work 1 month in every single department, and you had to fix phones, you had to fix underground cables, you had to, overhead wires, all those kind of things. You had to go through all those phases, and at the same time, you went to technical college. So that took 3 years of technical college, and then working when you were not in technical. So you're 6 months technical college, 6 months working. And then when I finished technical college as a qualified technician, I was supposedly a technician, then I had to go to the army. So the army still didn't give up on you, so you still had to go to mandatory conscription.
How was that experience for you?
Yeah, in the beginning it was tough because I was obviously 3 years older than most of the people there. But I swiftly realized that if I want to sort of get ahead here, you need to become an officer. So I applied to become an officer, and I was successful. But it was tough. It's not an easy ride in the South African Army at that time. But I applied for an officer, and then you go through the whole process and you stay in the military for a while. And then when I came out, I was kind of realized that I didn't want to be a technician all my life.
Okay.
So then I applied to go to university, to the University of Cape Town to become an engineer, a graduate engineer. I just managed to get in because my grades at school were very bad. But my technical college helped me because I did quite well at technical college.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I had no money, so this was a big challenge. So I managed to, because I had worked for 3 years, when you were doing your apprenticeship, you got paid, and because I had some sort of pension money saved, I managed to pay my way through the first 2 years at university. So that was quite of a struggle because university was a huge challenge for me in the first 2 years, massive challenge because. I was now 3 or 4 years beyond high school.
True.
And most of my peers in university came straight out of high school, so their maths and chemistry and all that was very new, fresh to them. For me, it was way back somewhere.
Refresher.
And so for the first 2 years, I really struggled at university. I really struggled, but I worked hard. And that's probably where I get my work ethic from. I worked very hard. I came here in 2000, and I came with five people came here together with me from Vodafone, and we took on Safaricom, and we started in Norfolk Towers, in a flat in Norfolk Towers, a little flat.
A flat?
A flat, yes, a flat. We took over the assets from Telkom Kenya, which was then, I think, 11 base stations here in Nairobi. The service was very bad. People complained all the time. It was congested, whatever.
At this point, did you know that Safaricom would become what it is right now?
No, of course not. Of course not. We did not know this, And this is another lesson, I think, for people, is that when we came here, we had a business plan that was developed by the Vodafone guys, the back office people, finance people. We had a business plan that said something, we might or might not be successful in 5 years' time. We might have 400,000 or 500,000 customers, maybe, but the chances of failure were high because, first of all, it was very corrupt. You know, most of our calls either originated or terminated on the telecom network, and they had to pay us for those calls, but they wouldn't pay. There was a competitor here already, which was the French guys. Vivendi had already started. So the whole thing was, you know, doomed to failure, and we didn't have a lot of cash. Nevertheless, we plowed on and we started a company, and there was very little data to go on during that time. Very little, you know, market data.
Yeah.
You know, we knew how many people they were, but who they were and how much they earned, and the economic data. There's very little data to go on.
What philosophy, apart from hard work, or mantra do you live by? Things that keep you focused, or things that you do repeatedly?
I think, you know, I just think there's a saying that says, "Time and tide waiteth for no man."
They don't.
And that's kind of how I kind of live. There's no time. You've got to get on and do it.
Yeah.
But you need to be honest. You need to behave with integrity, and you need to be fair. You know, and you need to be strong. You know, there's no ways you can be a leader of a company and be weak. You know, you can't lead from behind. And those are the things that have sort of driven me in my personality. You know, people think I'm very abrupt. They think I'm arrogant. They think I'm not very diplomatic. But in fact, I'm actually, if I told you about my upbringing in my childhood, I'm a very shy person. This for me is not easy.
Really?
I'm not an extrovert. Michael. I'm definitely not an extrovert. You know, my successor is much more extrovert than me. In my time in Safaricom, I had to force myself to go to all these social functions. I only went because they were my customers.
Yeah.
Did I want to go?
No.
Definitely not. And even, you know, so for me, by sort of focusing on behaving with integrity, with honesty, and doing whatever I do properly and to the best of my ability, that gets me through and drives me to be successful.
We're still on that inspiration beat. The next person who impacted our stories in our lives this year is a young man who is fondly known as the sound engineer in this industry, in this business. His name is Eric Musioka, and this is what made him inspiring.
So I'm a music producer, born and raised in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm the founder of Decimal Records, and we are a record label that specializes in managing talent, discovering, nurturing, managing, and selling content. I got into music very early. My dad was a guitarist in the church choir, so that's where the inclination for music started. In 1996, I got to record a song with Five Alive. It was for the Atlanta Olympic Games. I wasn't the main featured artist or anything. I mean, it was just a school. They were involving kids from the school where I was in. So, and the studio happened to be there. So I was in school in Riara. So, and Samawati, Sub-Sahara happened to be there. So definitely I would go and see what was happening. I saw a lot of Congolese bands that time recording. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw a few big names, Werason, Kofi. Yeah, I'm trying to recall, but not so certain, but definitely there are some Congolese guys recording music in that place. So that's how I got into the music. So when I went to high school, I met some 4 friends of mine, Steve, Tony, and Mike, and we formed a rap group called Nanoma, and we got signed to a label called Sing Sounds, where Kalamashaka were and Ted Josiah. Then we started working there, and we did an album when we were still there. But after we finished school, definitely campus guys flew out, and I ended up following up on production, and I looked for Kalamashaka and I started my production with them. I mean, it's the most joyful thing that I've ever done. It's the most enjoyable career I've ever embarked on. It's the best thing I've ever done for myself. Yeah, and it's so rewarding because it allows you to be creative. It allows you to incorporate ideas, incorporate philosophies and perspective from different things, and create this cocktail of magic that we call music. Yeah, so it's very rewarding, and I've been doing it for now. It's about 21 years.
Microphone check 1 1 2 now. charity.
There's one song that for me really stands out because it was, for me, it was a very unusual song, and the artist who ended up being on that song, that's the point that I sat down and I'm like, damn, actually I'm a good producer. That is the song that I was like, wow, this is what a producer does actually. Looking for an artist, because it was the first time I'd customized. Okay, I always customize songs for artists, but the way this song, the direction that this song took was extremely unusual. Because at that time I was working on P Unit's album, and when I started working on a project, I completely focused on that project. So I had focused all my energies and my creative juices onto working on that song. But then when I did the beat for that song, it didn't work out for P Unit at all, and it wasn't even gonna work out at all. So I approached the most unusual band, just a band. So I called Blinky and I told him, I think I have a song that might be good for you guys. It's the first time ever I've called an artist to tell them I have something for you. All the other time is, what's up, can we do a project? Then we start working. So I start looking for ideas based around that artist and based around his vibe. But this was the first time I wrote a song and thought of an artist I could give that song. And the moment Blinky had it, he was like, we are onto something here. And as they say, Mark Mende was born. I've been asked about people venturing into the music production, and my answer is always the same. One, you need to understand what production is all about. There's this notion that you can go to school and learn to be a producer. I've never heard of a producer who's gone to school. Quincy Jones never set foot onto school. Dr. Dre never went to school. Scott Scotch hasn't gone to school. I don't think Metro Booming went to learn production. Yeah. There is what we call the talent part of it. And then there's what we have, what is the entrepreneurial spirit of it. Yeah. Because a producer is somebody who collects ideas and packages them into a product. So you have to be able to know how to create a product. You have to know, what does the market want? What does the consumer want to listen to? So how do I collect these creative ideas and convert them into a musical product?
We're recording. So cue me, twende tena.
Unfortunately, I can't transfer my vision to anybody. Not because I don't want to, but it has never happened. I've never seen a doctor transfer his knowledge to. You can teach. There are some things that you can teach. But then the rest, it's my personality. Definitely, you have to be consistent in what you're doing. You have to always analyze your steps. Every once in a while, just look back and be like, I had this certain amount of goals. Have I reached there? It's also a capital-intensive business, and you tend to find that a lot of talented people don't have the resources to enable them, pursue their passion and knowledge, because it's the kind of industry whereby somebody wakes up and thinks, I can be in this industry. They're forgetting that it's a business just like any other business. It requires capital. It requires you to study. It requires you to understand your market. It requires you to understand your product. It requires you to understand your customer and consumer. A lot of people have this conception of, oh, if I go to Musyoka, I'll be big. It doesn't work out like that. That's a very big misconception. I didn't start out like this. I went to what I could afford. I recorded music where I could afford. I approached talent that I was easy with, that we had a rapport. Start small and grow big. Apple, Amazon, and everybody else started in a garage. So just start small and watch the success grow.
Would have loved to bring you many more stories, but we could only manage 3 of them. Our third guest on Motivate that has really impacted us this year is Dr. Wale Akinyemi, and this is what made him so powerful, in our opinion.
When I was told I was going to interview Wale Akinyemi, I went, woo, I was almost calling everyone. Because growing up, when I was 8, I think 8, 9 years, we had a tape.
Yes.
You know the one for the radio cassette?
Yes,
The
yes,
cassette.
yes.
And it was Dr. Wale Akinyemi.
Now you're making me feel like an old man.
No, it's
How
okay.
can you say you listened to my
8.
tape when you were 8? How can you say so?
I was 8 years old.
No,
and now
no.
inside the tape, the covering had the lyrics written there, so it was very easy
Yes.
for us to, know the song and keep repeating. You know the tape, you had to do this.
I know the pen and
Yes, and everything. And I loved your songs.
Thank you.
What happened to that guy?
That guy.
Yeah.
When you find him, tell me.
I think I did. I'm going to make him sing later on. How about that?
Me, Wale.
I have 2 songs that I really love from your cassettes. No?
Okay, we'll see.
We'll sing later, perhaps.
We'll see.
And you keep your head focused, like you've emerged from whatever situation that you've been. But you coming to Kenya, maybe you can give us a bit of, there's a very interesting story to that. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Well, I have been in Kenya since 1994. That was Kenya Phase 1, and that's Kenya Phase 2.
Okay.
And Kenya Phase 1 was a very interesting phase of my life. I was very, very young. And I think it was the beginning. That's when I fell in love with Kenya. But like I said, I was very, very young. And a lot of people didn't know Wale like today.
Yeah.
Kenya Phase 2 was totally different because Kenya Phase 1 was focused on church activities, but Kenya Phase 2 was now the whole nation. All right, and for me, it's been a privilege because I had failed, and one of the things that I have learned very much is that the seeds of success were in my failure. And a lot of people do not identify that in failure lies the seed to success. But you see, you need to identify that. You need to learn how to nurture it. You need to learn the lessons from the past and move on. A lot of people are very critical of people like me because we've done things that did not work. But what qualifies someone to be critical is that that person has done something worth criticizing.
It's true.
Now you have a lot of people who have done nothing worth criticizing.
You don't even talk about them. Yeah.
And the way I look at life is like a football match. You see, when you get to the stadium, there's a lot of noise going on. You have the players, and you see that noise is not coming from players.
No.
It's coming from the people who are watching.
Yeah.
These people paid a lot of money to come and watch. But they are the ones making noise. Oh, you ought to do it like this. Oh, that guy is a fool. That guy is this. If you don't want anybody to say bad things about you, then stay small. Many of us have been battered by the experiences of our past. Many of us are listening to the voice of our past. Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
I remember one day I was working in the UK. I was working in England, and I came out, and there was this guy in a sports car, a convertible. He stopped, saw me, then he came to meet me, and he said, "Oh wow, I love the way you're dressed." And I said, "Thank you very much." And he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a trainer and I'm a consultant. I work with organizations and so on and so forth."
Yeah.
Then he said, then he went and he brought out 2 leather jackets.
Leather jackets.
Okay?
Okay.
One was black, one was brown. Very expensive. Each one, he said, was about £1,000 or so. And I said, "I don't want any of these jackets." Of course. And he said, "You don't have to pay for them."
Oh.
He brought out his business cards, roll of business cards. He said, "You take these jackets. Since you talk to people every single day,
Yeah.
you take this jacket. Whenever you wear this jacket and anyone says, 'I like the jacket,' just give them my card."
Okay, interesting. What did you
Now, that sounds like a good deal, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's a good deal.
Ooh, it
You're not
sounds
paying,
okay.
are you?
I'm not paying. But you see, as I was about to collect the jacket from him,
Yeah.
I began to hear my mother's voice. My mother had died many years before, but I heard her voice. Wale, Wale, never receive anything from strangers. Oh. Never receive.
And you all taught that?
So,
Yeah.
guess what? As I was about to take it, I heard my mother's voice. Do you know I let the jackets go? That in Yoruba is what you call a mumu. I was a mumu.
A mumu?
Mumu is somebody whose reasoning faculty is in a state of suspended animation. He thinks he's thinking, but he's just
not.
rotating ignorance around his head. He thinks accidentally. Anyway, so I'm an ex-mumu, so that's why I can describe it very well. Do you know I did not take the jacket? Now, why? You see, if the voice of your past is louder than the opportunity of your present, you will never take that opportunity, no matter how good it is.
You have to say that again. You have to say that again.
If the voice of your past is louder than the opportunity of the present, you will never take the opportunity, no matter how great it is. Then another thing I like to do, I listen to young people.
Okay.
I listen to young people because I tell people in leadership today, one of the most difficult things you're having to do is lead people who know more than you. Yes.
Hard.
Let me tell you a story. Now I'm a storyteller. So I'm watching TV one day with my daughter years ago. And one of my favorite shows, I was watching that in Top Gear.
Yeah.
You know, and my phone rang. So I'm thinking, who is this mumu calling me when I'm watching Top Gear? You know, so I didn't want to pick it. And my daughter said, pick it. I said, no, I don't want to miss it. She said, then why don't you pause? Now listen. I said, no, baby, it's not a DVD. It's TV. It's live TV. She said, but you can pause. I said, you don't get it. It's TV. She said, or you can go and then you rewind. Now let's put this in context. It is in my house. The TV I bought with my money. The decoder I bought with my money. The remote control is mine. Even the girl talking is mine. Now she's making me look like a mumu. Saying that,
in your own house.
She now began to laugh hysterically. So anyway, I went. I picked the call. Then when I got back, hey, my daughter took my remote control and just pressed, and the thing stopped. Hey. Then she pressed rewind. Hey, whoa. Hey, whoa.
What did you do? Did you pick your call?
I felt like Mumu Emeritus. How can this girl make me feel so foolish?
What is that, Mumu Emeritus?
That was just something I came up with. Make whatever you call it, find it. So, can you imagine now? Now, I felt so silly, but you see, that is where a lot of people like me, that's where we are. I was training the other day, and I told this story, they were laughing. I said, you're all laughing. I said, all the people that you have employed, they are laughing at you right now that Mumu has gone on training, or Mumu has gone on training, he's not around in the office.
No. No.
Hey, now this.
How are you, Taiwo? Really nice to meet you.
Now this is my sweetie potato.
Hey!
My chocomillo.
Hey!
My one and only. My wife of 25 years.
Whoa.
Hey.
Nice to meet you, Taiwo.
Very nice to meet you too.
She's lovely.
Thank you, Magure. You can have a seat.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Wale has been telling us how he was hot when he was younger. Is that true?
No, when he was younger, even now.
No. You said it yourself.
He had hair.
He had hair. You know his height. Can we see?
For what reason?
If you really have hair or not.
It is culturally.
He doesn't have any more. He cuts it every week.
He cuts it every week. So you used to have hair. Did you like the hair?
Yeah, I guess.
I had curls at the time. I had Jerry curls at one time.
He went through a lot. We talked about that earlier. But your role as the wife, holding his hand and, reaffirming this already affirmed man that, we're going through a lot, but we're going to make it at the end. Most of the time, we'll hear conversations of, my wife left me because I ran into debts, or my wife left me because I couldn't provide for her and our family. How was it for you during that time, to support Dr. Wale?
I think the foundation is always important. It's important how you start. So, and I always say this to people who go through a rough time. Remember how you started. Remember what the vision was. So that when the rough times come, you're just passing through. There are a few examples, a few people, high-profile people in the world who went through a rough period. And in the period when they were going through a rough time, the wife left.
Yeah.
And after she left, the day broke for the man. You see, it's too late to. So I think that people call it quits too early.
Yeah.
They throw in the towel too early. I think when we were going through a rough time, it's like I understood we were passing through something. It was not a destination. So as far as I was concerned, we're passing through and we're going to come out. And for me, we would only come out if we were in it as a team. So that's important.
And bless our leaders to help them to rule in righteousness and truth.
We now take a quick commercial break. When we come back, who was most impactful and most inspiring on Books and Blogs? Don't go too far.
Prevail. Let